Nobody likes getting slapped in the face, figuratively speaking or in real life, and nobody ever wants to get to the end of a video game that you tried so hard and you think to yourself, that wasn't worth it. It sucks even more when you really love that game, but then end up with an ending that makes you wish you had not put all that time into it. Welcome to ChaosGaming, everybody! We're not going to slap you in the face today, but we are going to check out some games with endings that did slap you right in the face. Twice. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of spoilers going forward, but you let me know in the comments which of these made you the most heated. Drop a like, turn on those notifications, make sure you're following the page, and here we go. The first slapper of the day is Crysis. Yes, we know, technically impressive. Yes, one of the best looking games of all time. I mean, it came out in 2007, and it still looked better than a lot of games that come out today. However, the technical achievements often make people forget it had one of the worst endings ever. The campaign in Crysis, it kind of just stops. You're fighting, you're fighting, you're fighting, you're jumping, you're fighting, you're given some objectives, then a cutscene to establish where we're going next, and then the game ends. The big final battle doesn't even properly end before the credits roll. Crysis was obviously much more concerned about the game world and the multiplayer. Both are, they're incredible, but a lot of people forget just how underwhelming the ending was. Almost as if the developers didn't finish it because they were working on other things. And you may say, Jimmy, the story is picked up in the sequel, but no, you are wrong. Crysis 2 takes place 3 years after the events of Crysis 1, and the actual conclusion to the battle is just waved off with a couple dialogue lines. It's a super underwhelming ending to an otherwise fantastic game. Call of Duty Ghost. Man, oh man. Ghost was definitely a controversial game in the community. Now, aside from all the changes to the multiplayer formula, the campaign got incredibly mixed reception due to the solid gameplay. It had some cool set pieces, but a story that didn't make a whole lot of sense, and a lot of stuff from the marketing side got cut. Perhaps the most infamous element of COD Ghost is its ending. Infinity Ward really wanted Ghost to be the start of a new sub-franchise. You can tell, so they concluded the story with the main villain jumping out of the rubble, killing your buddy, and then dragging you off to his secret lair, yes, I said lair, while explaining you his evil plan. Yep, and the game ends. Seriously, it's clear that Infinity Ward already had storyboards for the sequel laid out, and they knew this was going to go down, but after the lukewarm reception to Ghost, Activision pulled the plug, changed course, leaving us with a cliffhanger ending that will never get resolved. At number 8, Borderlands. Now, to be fair, the story of Borderlands 1 wasn't really what kept most people going. Rather, the story of Borderlands was mainly just a device to keep you from going from place to place. However, that doesn't mean that the ending wasn't a huge bummer. Throughout the game, you're searching for the vault, and the ultimate goal is to find it before the main villain does. So, you grind for dozens and dozens of hours, you explore the planet, and you find the vault. But what happens when you find the vault? Well, there's a big boss fight, and then the vault gets sealed for another 200 years before you even get to peek in it. Seriously, wow, thanks Borderlands. Like I said, the main story of Borderlands was kind of just a framing device to keep you going from place to place, but the ending, it sucked. Why have the vault in the game if you're not going to show us what's in the vault? Why not just make the final boss the thing we're hunting instead? At number 7, Batman Arkham Asylum. Fantastic game. Great writing, great levels, awesome combat, amazing characters, and the story was basically one long battle of wits between the Dark Knight and the Joker. So how does it all end? Well, the Joker just injects himself with a bunch of steroids, and you have this giant fist fight with him and a bunch of his minions. I mean, I don't know. Arkham Asylum was a 10 out of 10 game all the way up to the last half hour. In the ending, it was criticized. Why would the Joker abandon his evil plan just to have a fist fight with Batman? And why would the Joker ever inject himself with super steroids? I mean, the ending, it felt super out of character for the Joker. And then the cherry on the top, the boss fight sucked. Now, Arkham Asylum is a great game, but the last half an hour or so, it confused us. It's almost like the developers just didn't know how to end the story, so they did this. Blair Witch. This game had so much potential, but ultimately, it was kind of hot, steamy garbage. Now, there's a few different endings, and which one you get depends on how you play the game, but the endings themselves aren't what get it a spot on today's list. No. Blair Witch gets on this list because of the requirements for getting the good ending. In order to get the good ending, you have to not kill the monsters during your playthrough. Yep, that's it. I mean, how are you supposed to figure that out? I don't know. You spawn monsters in the levels and then give us tools to fight them, but you were secretly punishing us for fighting the monsters. Multiple endings are a good way to make the experience more personal to the player. But in Blair Witch's case, it felt like the game was punishing you for things you could not have possibly known you were doing wrong on your first Let's Play. And let's be honest, nobody was going to play the game twice. At number 5, Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Now, the ending of Episode 2 is not bad on its own accord. but in the context of the series, it was awful. You spent hours getting to know these characters and engaging with the world, only to have things end on one of the biggest cliffhangers in gaming history, and it's still unresolved 14 years later. That's not fair. You play as the iconic Gordon Freeman. You team up with the Resistance force trying to fight back an alien occupation of Earth, and it features some of the best writing and dialogue ever. By the end of the story, you are engaged, you are attached. It's like it was your own responsibility to set things right, but that's it. Everything goes to crap at the end. The main character dies as alien forces are closing in on you and your remaining teammates. It just fades to black. 14 years later, we don't know what happened. Half-Life 2 Episode 3 was in development for the longest time, and for all we know, it still could be, but Valve has remained tight-lipped on its status. And at this point, I don't think anything. I don't think they're going to release it. What do you think? Do you think we'll ever get Half-Life 3? What do you think happened? Next up is Halo 2. Now, this has one of the most infamous cliffhangers in gaming history. The epic story of Halo 2. You would expect this giant showdown to finish it up, but guess what? You were wrong. Halo 2 just ends. You play the last level, you kill a whole bunch of the Flood, and you're all set up for the climax, and then the game ends. Now, the reason for the cliffhanger ending was because the development of Halo 2 was rushed and hectic due to Bungie needing to meet deadlines while also pushing forward with technical achievements like the new game engine and the integration of Xbox Live multiplayer, which led to a lot of corners needing to be cut in the campaign. Now, according to the interviews with Bungie staff members, the original outline for the campaign was almost twice as long, but development, it was fast-tracked, and it had to be cut down to what we got. Now, Halo 2 has a solid campaign. I think it's the best story of any Halo game, but the ending, it bugs me. It really makes you think about what could have been if Bungie was given more time. At number 3 today, Far Cry 5. Now, there's 2 possible endings, and both of them were incredibly unsatisfying, which sucks because the rest of the game is good. The end of the game has you come face to face with your main villain, a bunch of your allies, and they're hypnotized. At the point, you're given the choice to either walk away from the situation or fight them. If you walk away, you start to get hypnotized as well, and the game cuts to black. If you choose to fight them, a freaking nuclear war starts and everybody dies. I mean, seriously, this is another game where it feels like the devs legitimately didn't know how to end the story. And I'm not saying every game has to have a happy ending, but Far Cry 5 felt like it didn't have a conclusion, regardless of what choice you made. It's totally possible to make a sad ending that's still satisfying, I think. Gears of War. I love the Gears of War games and the stories, but the ending to the first game, no. Giant climactic battle, and it seems like the day is saved. However, there's this final cutscene that reveals 3 things. 1, the Locusts are not dead, they're just regrouping. 2, the Locusts have a queen who has not been mentioned until just now. 3, everything we did basically means nothing in the grand scheme of things. Gears of War had a rushed development, and the ending was meant to be vague for the sake of sequels and novels to fill in the gaps, but you couldn't help but feel underwhelmed when the credits rolled. And at number 1 today, Mass Effect 3. Yep, you know it. The first 2 Mass Effect games, incredibly detailed sci-fi RPGs that gave the player, you and me, countless choices to make, and both games tied into each other. It was awesome. So the choices you made in Mass Effect 1 would come back in Mass Effect 2, and the same went for 3. Now, the entire trilogy was one long personalized story for the player. When BioWare was hyping up the conclusion, players were eager. We were drinking the Kool-Aid. BioWare even said there would be tons of potential endings and that your choices throughout the entire trilogy would have an influence on how it ended. Well, it's unclear on exactly what happened, but that wasn't true. It had one of the most lackluster endings in RPG history, and almost nothing of it had anything to do with the choices you made. Not only did the ending not live up to the hype, but it also left a lot of unanswered questions depending on your playthrough. It actually created more plot holes and contradicted certain other events than I'm frustrated. I mean, like I said, it's unclear what caused the ending to be such a mess, and a month after release, BioWare released DLC that expanded upon the ending, but it was still nowhere what the fans needed. It was bad. And there you have it. Those are 10 endings that slapped you right in the face. Let me know if you've been slapped by any of these, and I'll see you soon.